Hello and welcome to the Book Nook. Hi guys, so I've got myself a lovely mug of tea. Look at this lovely new mug. Morrison's. So those that follow me on Instagram and Twitter will know that this last week or so I've had a bad back. I managed to trap a nerve, sciatica, in my back on Monday evening, and I honestly don't think I've been in that much pain for a while. I tried to sit down and eat my dinner at the table and it was like a screaming, scrying fit. There you go, the screaming, crying fit. I am on a few painkillers at the moment, so I'm a little bit fuzzier than normal. And I don't really know why everything seems a bit sort of pinker. I'm going to try and sort that out afterwards, so by the time you watch it, it might not look pink, but to me right now everything looks a bit pink. So I'm going to do another haul because I bought a few books before I was off sick, and then I've ordered some online while I've been sick. And then, so today I did go into work. So basically I went to the doctors on Friday evening and they said, look, stay off work until Tuesday and try and sort of move around a bit more gradually and don't just sort of stay flat on your back for like any longer. So I've been getting up and trying to go for like a little bit of a walk every day, and yeah, Friday was only yesterday, so I've not been doing it for very long. So today I was like, right, I haven't even been in work now since last Saturday, yes, it's been a week that I've been off already, and I was just bored and getting itchy and wanted to get in there, so I popped into work and bought a few, but I'm going to start with the ones that I had bought before I was off with my bad back. So the first one I picked up is this little one here called You Should Have Left by Daniel Kehlmann. Kehlmann? I don't know. It is translated from the German, and it's a really nice little looking one. It's river run fiction, and it's a really nice little ditty book. And it says, on retreat in the wintry Alps with his family, a writer is optimistic about completing the sequel to his breakthrough film. Nothing to disturb him except the wind whispering around their glassy house, the perfect place to focus. Intruding on that peace of mind, the demands of his 4-year-old daughter splinter open long simmering arguments with his wife. I love her, he writes in the notebook intended for his script. Why do we fight all the time? Guilt and expectation strain at his concentration, and strain too at the walls of the house. They warp under his watch. At night, looking through the window, he sees impossible reflections on the snow outside. Then the words start to appear in his notebook, the words he didn't write. So this one looks really, really interesting, sort of like quite a little spooky tale, but a one about sort of family and ambition as well, maybe. So yeah, this is a little one I think I'm going to get around to very soon. Again, I keep saying that, it feels like a buzzword thing that I probably shouldn't say anymore, but yeah, You Should Have Left by Daniel Kehlmann. Hello, cat. Gomez has been just about okay at keeping me company while I've been in a lot of pain. He's now rubbing himself up against the tripod, hence the bit of wobble. See, normally I would pick him up, but I can't. Because my back's still a bit tight. As long as you don't sit on my cup of tea, we're fine. No, that's it, just next to the cup of tea. Okay. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to get the microphone and see if you can hear him purring. So, that was unnecessary, but I did it anyway. Told you, painkillers. So, I'm going to be patting the cat with one hand down here and picking up books with this one and trying not to swivel, so this will be fun. So the next one I picked up was a book of poetry that I just happened to see while I was stacking the shelves on last week, and it just really grabbed me. So the cover is a gorgeous one, and it's called Seasonal Disturbances by Karen McCarthy Woolf, and that's from Carcanet Press. Set against a backdrop of ecological and emotional turbulence, these poems are charged yet meditative explorations of nature, the city and the self. A sinister CEO presides over a dystopian hinterland where private detectives investigate crimes against hollyhocks. Halcyon is discovered as a dead kingfisher, wasted up on an Italian beach. Lyrical and inventive, McCarthy Wolf's poems test classic and contemporary forms, from a disrupted Zuihitsu, that considers her relationship with water, to the Lande golden shovel and gram of ampersand. Is this the painkillers, or did that not make sense at all? From a disrupted Zuihitsu, Zuihitsu. It's like jujitsu or shitsu, but zui. It's a Lande. And gram of ampersand? I don't know. Well, basically, it looks really interesting. Yeah, I had a little flick through some of them. And yeah, you've got some that sort of play with form, which you know that I like by now. So yeah, I'm excited to give that one a go, stick it on my poetry shelf, and pick it up when I have a poetry day. The next one I picked up was one that I can't remember where I had seen about it, but I know I'd seen something about it online probably. But then we happened to have a copy in, and I bought it, and that is White Plains, Pieces and Witherlings by Gordon Lish, Fictions. So it's from Little Island Press, and it is quite sizable. It's about the size of sort of like a big proof copy, if that means anything. And it's sort of a collection of stories and fictions and essays and things. Listen to me. I want to tell you something. I am not a writer. I am a rewriter, or a rewriter. I used to think I was a reviser, or a reviser. But producing this book has shown me what the score was, or is. You see, it's sick, a sickness. Much as I try, I can't leave it all well enough alone. Anyway, the point I set out to make, and have thus far not gotten to, is this. No colon, yeah? Each time I rewrite, I say what's been said a different way from how it had been said, which means that each time I rewrite, all the words get farther and farther, or further and further, necessarily, in ineluctably from what I... Basically, the painkiller's not so good. Probably shouldn't be doing this now. Should probably wait until I'm a bit more human. But basically, it looks like it is some sort of quite interesting, innovative fictions that is exactly my kind of thing and up my street. So I picked this one up, and I'm excited to give it a go. I will link to these down below because I know that I'm not making as much sense as I normally would. I'm doing this as much as anything just because I'm so bored of doing nothing. I've sat and I've read a few books, but not as many as I wanted to, because for the first few days the pain was so bad I couldn't concentrate, and then for the last few days it's just been sort of trying to get up and move a little bit, and so basically I haven't read as much as I like, and I'm bored and I'm restless, so I'm doing a BookTube video, and this is probably going to be my least viewed video. So in that same day that when I was in work and bought those, there was also a proof copy in our staff room, which I had been really eyeing up, and that's A Fierce Kingdoms by Phillips. I've seen a lot about this on Twitter and on BookTube. It's another one that seems to be much talked about. So it says, Lincoln is a good boy. At the age of 4, he is curious, clever, and well-behaved. He does as his mum says and knows what the rules are. The rules are different today. The rules are that we hide and do not let the man with the gun find us. When an ordinary day at the zoo turns into a nightmare, Joan finds herself trapped with her beloved son. She must summon all her strength, find unexpected courage, and protect Lincoln at all costs, even if it means crossing the line between right and wrong, between humanity and animal instinct. It's a line none of us would normally ever dream of crossing, but sometimes the rules are different. So yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this, and I think the bit of paperwork from the publishers that came with this one said that it's set over like 4 hours, and you can sort of sit and read it in 4 hours and you're just like sucked into it. So yeah, I think this one will be one that I'm probably going to give a go soon. It looks like a good thriller with an interesting premise. So yeah, Fierce Kingdoms by Phillips. So then at some point during the week, landed on my doormat through the post again. What is that? Landed on my postmat? I don't know. Basically, arrived in the post some stuff that I had ordered. Some stuff that I had ordered from Synchronized Witches Press, which is a press that publishes like little zines and things. Cherry Styles, I will tag her down below, who's sort of like on Instagram and Twitter and things. And basically, it's sort of like a punk aesthetic type. This is me sounding like a proper white middle class woman who's got punky. It's basically sort of like zines that are sort of female writers publishing things that wouldn't normally get published, and just very sort of in your face and brash and edgy, and yeah, it looks really, really good. So I ordered a few things from them. So the first one's a little pamphlet. It's so hard to tell who's going to love you the best, a Karen Dalton fanzine. So Karen Dalton is a musician, so this one looks really, really interesting, so I'm going to read that one soon. Ow. Then the second one is A Dead Name 1, Punk in Transition by Lidia B, and I've just had a little flick through this because one of the articles in there is about Lumberjanes, the graphic novels, which I absolutely love, and it's talking about sort of trans and LGBTQ representation in graphic novels, which is really sort of nice to see in there. So you've got sort of poetry, commentary, fiction things in there, so that one I'm really excited to check out. And then the last one I got was Valerie Solanas' Scum Manifesto. Now, from what I can gather, this is sort of not a new text, and it's sort of quite a sort of feminist, powerful sort of manifesto. I'm entirely ignorant with these sort of things. Zines have been things that I sort of see a lot of around, and when I was at Goldsmiths, they'd sort of have like Zine Fest there, and I always sort of love the aesthetic and admire the sort of passion and the work that goes into producing and, you know, disseminating these zines. Do I mean disseminating? Is that the right word? Distributing is probably a better word. So I absolutely am in love with the sort of whole world of zines, but I'm entirely ignorant when it comes to sort of the punk aesthetic and the things that are in them, so that's why I wanted to get a few, so I got myself that one. The other thing that I got from Synchronized Witches Press is some of their badges. Support women writers badges. I got a couple of the big ones and a few of the little ones that I'm going to put on my bags. That's staying on the floor now until someone comes home and can pick it up for me. Yeah, so I picked them up to pop on some bags and things. This mug is about as big as my head. Okay, well it's not. If I put it... Now it's as big as my head. So at some point over the week that I've been in pain and on painkillers, I've been sort of looking, most of the time actually during that time I've been looking online at sort of book releases and things to come out, so when I couldn't concentrate on reading I was just sort of looking at books that I want and books that I need to get my hands on. And there was one author that kept on coming up who I don't think is published in the UK yet. And from everything that I've read about her writing, and I've sort of read little excerpts and interviews with her, she's somebody that I really, really want to read, but I've been trying to get some of her books through work and sort of looking on the system. And yeah, from as far as I can tell, I may just be being totally oblivious, she's not actually published in the UK, and that is Lidia Yuknavitch. Now, I was looking at getting the Book of Joan, but still only out in hardback, and to get a copy over here it's sort of more expensive, whereas one that I could get hold of was the Chronology of Water. Now, what I find quite funny about this is one of the articles I was reading that prompted me to write, okay, I'm going to order a Lidia Yuknavitch book, was talking about the Chronology of Water, which is a memoir that sort of Chuck Palahniuk sort of said, if you wrote a memoir, I'd read it, and she was like, okay, then I'll do it. A bit more to it than that. I'm simplifying drastically. But it was an article I was reading about this one, and part of what they mentioned in the article is that the cover of the book, it's now got this band on it because I can't take it off. It's stuck on there and I don't want to rip bits of paper, but basically there's a woman's nip around about here. Woman's nip. And a lot of this article was talking about, when the book originally came out, publishers were sort of struggling with sort of the concept of having a woman's nipple on it, and they were like, people won't read this on buses and trains and things, so it was sold with this book band on it. Belly band. This is not your mother's memoir. In the Chronology of Water, Lidia Yuknavitch, a lifelong swimmer and Olympic hopeful, escapes her raging father and alcoholic and suicidal mother when she accepts a swimming scholarship, which drug and alcohol addiction eventually cause her to lose. What follows is promiscuous sex with both men and women, some of them famous and some of it S&M, as Lidia discovers the power of her sexuality to help her forget her pain. The forgetting doesn't last, though, and it is her hard-earned career as a writer and teacher and the love of her husband and son that ultimately create the life she needs to survive. So as I say, from everything I've seen about Lidia Yuknavitch and interviews and excerpts and stuff, I'm like, right, I need to read this writer. Don't know why she's not really published in the UK, but yeah, I'm really glad that I got hold of a copy of this. So I don't normally order stuff online because I can normally get it through work, but as I say, this one's not published in the UK, hence why I've got this sans nipple. So as I say, I did pop into work today, which is Saturday, by the way. I'm going to try and edit this tonight and put it up tonight or tomorrow morning, which will be Sunday. So I did pop into work, and I was really pleased to see, I'd completely forgotten I'd asked for it because, with everything that's been going on, I'd totally forgotten I'd asked Bloomsbury if they'd be willing to send me a copy of Sour Heart by Jenny Zhang, and they have sent me a copy, and I'm really excited. They've done these proof copies in 4 different colours, sort of like bright blue, bright green, yellow and pink as well, I think. And I can't remember whether I actually said, can I have a blue one if preferable, or whether they just knew. So if I didn't ask, props Bloomsbury for reading my mind. I don't know, it was a while ago I asked for it, I can't remember. So this is a book of short fiction. So this is 7 startling stories of family, femininity, sexuality and otherness. The first book chosen for Lena Dunham's new Lenny imprint in the US. So Lena Dunham in America has set up her own publishing press, and this is the first book that was chosen for that, and chosen for it. This video is going to be so much more edited than usual. There's a letter from Lena Dunham on the back about this book, which I'm not going to read because it's going to take too long, and I have my problems with Lena Dunham. I'm not going to go into all of that, but basically I've been really excited about this book because there's been a lot of talk about it. Centred on a community of immigrants who have traded their endangered lives as artists in China and Taiwan for the constant struggle of life at the poverty line in 1990s New York City, the 7 stories that make up Sour Heart examine the many ways that family and history can weigh us down but also lift us up. From the young woman coming to terms with her grandmother's role in the Cultural Revolution, to the daughter struggling to understand where her family ends and she begins, to the girl discovering the power of her body to inspire and destroy, these vibrant, raw and powerful stories illuminate the complex and messy inner lives of girls struggling to define themselves. So yeah, really, really excited about this one. A huge thank you to Bloomsbury for remembering that I'd asked for that one. So that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. And I also picked up a copy of Hyde by Matthew Griffin. Now, I know this one has been out for a little while now, and I've been eyeing up and umming and ahhing and decided to just go for it. So this one is about Wendell Wilson, a taxidermist, and Frank Clifton, a veteran, meet after the Second World War. But in this declining textile town in a southern US state, their love holds real danger. Severing nearly all ties with the rest of the world, they create a home for themselves on the outskirts of town. For decades, their routine of self-reliant domesticity, Wendell's cooking, Frank's care for a yard no one sees, and the vicarious drama of courtroom TV seems to protect them. However, when Wendell finds Frank lying motionless outside at the age of 83, their carefully crafted life together begins to unravel. As Frank's memory and physical strength deteriorate, Wendell struggles in vain to hold on to the man he once knew. Faced with giving care beyond his capacity, he must come to terms with the consequences of half a century in seclusion, the different lives they might have lived, and the impending, inexorable loss of the one they had. So this one looks like it's going to make me cry. I think, if I remember rightly, Simon over at Savage Reads has read this one and enjoyed it, I think. I seem to recall that's why I was first tempted by it. So yeah, Matthew Griffin's Hide, I'm going to give a go. Then I also picked up a copy of David Grossman's A Horse Walks into a Bar, which has of course just won the Man Booker International Prize. And you may remember that I had toyed with trying to read the whole shortlist and failed after 2 books and just sort of gave up because there was other stuff I wanted to read more. But this one I was gonna, it was gonna be the next one that I was gonna read on the shortlist anyway. So now that it's out in paperback, which I really like the paperback, I liked, so the hardback was just sort of black and white, but I like the splashes of colour they've done. A comedy club in a small Israeli town. An audience has come expecting an evening of amusement. Instead, they see a comedian falling apart on stage, an act of disintegration, a man crumbling as a matter of choice before their eyes. Dovile G, a veteran stand-up comic, charming, erratic, repellent, exposes a wound he has been living with for years, a fateful and gruesome choice he had to make between the 2 people who were dearest to him. Flaying alive both himself and the people watching him, Dov provokes revulsion and empathy from an audience that doesn't know whether to laugh or cry, and all this in the presence of a former childhood friend who is trying to understand why he's been summoned to this performance. So I have heard really good things about this, and as I say, it won the Man Booker International Prize, and I really enjoyed Han Kang's Vegetarian, which won it last year, so I'm definitely gonna bump this one up my list because it's one that a lot of people are talking about, so yeah, I think I might try this one very soon. Then I forgot that I'd ordered in a copy of Whatever Happened to Harold Absalom by Simon Okotie, published by Salt. Now this one I wanted to read because Simon Okotie's second book, In the Absence of Absalon, has just come out, and from what I can read, it doesn't sound as though you have to have read Whatever Happened to Harold Absalom. And from what I can gather, you don't have to have read Whatever Happened to Harold Absalom before you read In the Absence of Harold Absalom, but it's one that, when I was reading about it, I was like, I need to have this. So it says, it's a detective story set on a Routemaster bus. Simon Okotie's debut novel is as humorous as it is compelling. Marguerite, a down-at-heel detective, investigates, in minute and comically digressive detail, the disappearance of Harold Absalom, the mayor's transport advisor. He follows and then is followed by Harold's wife Isabel around an unnamed city resembling London. Finding himself cornered by Isabel, it emerges that Marguerite may be more closely implicated than we think. And it's meant to be really sort of strangely written, very kind of, like it says on the back, minute detail, really zooming in on things, and meant to be a bit sort of off the wall and a bit strange. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be bumping this one up, because as soon as I read about In the Absence of Absalom, I was like, how did this one pass me by? It sounds like, even though it's going to be a totally different book, that kind of totally zoomed in aspect, it sounds like very reminiscent of Carl Ove Knausgaard's My Struggle series, and I know it's going to be a totally different book, but that kind of thing. When I read the first book in the My Struggle saga, I still can't decide whether I loved it or hated it or what. It's such a strange, beguiling book, the Carl Ove Knausgaard's. So I'm really hoping that this one I'm going to have sort of like a more positive version of that reaction too. So yeah, Whatever Happened to Harold Absalom by Simon Okotie. And then I also picked up, the last one that I picked up is a graphic novel that my colleague Layla, who runs the sort of manga and graphic novel sections, and she does a lot on the sort of Twitter and Facebook and things, she tweeted about this one that it had come in, and I was like, oh, okay. So I went in and bought one of the 2 copies we have, and that is Instrumental by, now I never know how to pronounce his surname, Dave Chisholm, and he's a critically acclaimed jazz musician who's written his first graphic novel, and it looks really, really intriguing. While Tom's bandmates are happy to play gigs for themselves at their own clubs, Tom aches for the next level. And as musicians are wont to do in magical fables, he meets a mysterious stranger with a simple offer. Take an old trumpet and just enjoy it. No exchanges. Whenever he plays it, the extraordinary music blows away his growing throngs of fans, and deadly mishaps start to follow. Tom may not have sold his soul for the music of the heavens, but he seems to have bargained away something much more serious. From the critically acclaimed jazz musician Dave Chisholm comes a high-spirited, suspenseful, formally inventive graphic novel, an epic yet intimate riff on our longing search for what's next. And the illustrations in this one, I'm just going to try and show you. I think it's all in black and white, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I've been a little bit more lax on reading my graphic novels recently, and I don't know why. And to be quite honest with you, while I've been flat on my back and in a lot of pain, graphic novels were probably the best thing that I could have read, or probably like the most sort of suited to where my levels of concentration were at, but I couldn't reach the shelves they were on. It's as simple as that. And I kept on forgetting to ask my parents to help me. So yeah, that's another little bit of a haul. Somehow I even managed to haul books when I can barely move. I'm just that good. I really hope you can't hear the screaming that's happening outside. And there's kids playing outside, and they're very noisy and screamy, so I hope If you can hear that, that's what that is. As per usual, if any of these books that I've hauled here today you've read and you enjoyed, let me know. If you read and you didn't enjoy, keep stum till I've read them. That's the deal, guys. And if any of them look like they float your boat, let's have a little chat about them down below in the comments. I'm very much hoping that normal service will be resumed very soon. I think now, once I get back to work, things will get better. So I've got another 2 days off and then I'm allowed to go back to work on Tuesday, which is exciting. And hopefully around about Tuesday, Wednesday, I will also have time to film my June part 1 wrap-up. Part 2, I just checked. See, I don't know whether I'm coming or going at the minute. But yeah, sometime in the next week I will have time to film that wrap-up. Yeah, because I've actually only read like another 4 books since my last wrap-up. Because as I say, reading was not particularly possible. That's the word I was looking for. It wasn't really possible when I was in that much pain, and yeah, I just couldn't read as much, and it was just so frustrating because I was lying on my back and every time I tried to read a book I dropped it on my face. But yeah, so next week I'll do part 2 of my June wrap-up. I'm now going to go and enjoy a nice slice of Rocky Road and have another cup of tea and watch some Glastonbury and edit this here thing, and I will see you never, because I can't see you. So you will see me when I've done that and it's uploaded, and I will hopefully be more normal soon. Bye! Oh my god. It's probably the worst video I've done, and I'm very sorry.